Well, sir, DIY hillbilly enthusiasts, welcome back. Here we are at the Hillbilly Studios here in the shop here today. Lighting is terrible in here today. Yeah, I got an issue. It's weird that an electrician's light bulbs are always blown, isn't it? That's strange. Another, look at that one over there. That doesn't work either. That's handy. I think a guy that ran wires for a living could fix a light once in a while, but nah, no time for that. We don't play with trucks, you know. So, we're going to drop the idiot accent that I usually carry there for a minute. And we're going to get serious on this thing. Yeah, she's stuck. I am about... You like my driver's seat? By God, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna get this cleaned up here a little bit. Get these 4 pans. I call them 4 pans. I should call them 4 boards because they're literally boards. Which isn't my favorite design in the world, but it's gonna work. I'm gonna put it back the way she was. And like I said, I come up with some plywood off a job site at a discounted rate because there was a couple of sheets that were swollen on the edges, so they couldn't use them. But I traded some time for those materials, which helps me out. It's not any money out of my pocket. It's just another hour at work, basically, for a couple sheets of plywood, which probably would have cost me $300 or more. Who knows? Stuff's not cheap. Yeah, we're gonna get this stuff cut up, placed in here. So what I've done, got the old one out, and it's not terrible shape, but it's pretty bad. I mean, it's starting to delaminate, and let's be real, it's 47 years old, something like that. And there's a nice little grub on it. Look at that guy. Yep, so get this marked out with my scribing utensil here. What I'm going to do is just trace it. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And over here in the cabinet, somewhere, I got quite the array of everything in this cabinet. There's just like a catch-all. This stuff right here, I think this is going to be our saving grace. Let me pull this apart. Sorry for the camera angle and all that. It's pretty bad. This stuff is like a weird, gluey, tacky stuff. And what I'm going to do is around the edge where it meets the aluminum, I'm going to lay this right in there. Instead of using caulk or anything like that, I'm going to use this sticky stuff. And what that'll do is protect against corrosion between the two materials, between the wood and the aluminum. And it's also going to be an anti-squeak type of thing. So if at some point, you know, because wood is going to swell and shrink and swell and shrink and on and on and on. And eventually that'll loosen up the bolt holes and all that. So you're eventually going to get some movement in that. And this little tacky material will keep it from squeaking. It'll hopefully keep it stuck there so we don't have any... Nobody wants to drive down the road here in the floor going squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Don't want that. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to get this cut out and then we'll try to get it fit in there. Okay. That's that. Okay. So I've got my pieces cut out. Nice snug fit. And I left my hole saw kit on a job site. So I wound up cutting that out with just a saber saw or a jigsaw. And hold on there. And I just took a 120 sanding block and softened the edges a little bit so while I'm working in here I don't get slivers, because that's not good for anybody. So that's this side of it. On the underside, I don't want to leave just unfinished plywood. So I have a little bit of roll-on or paint-on, spray-on, whatever you want to call it, bed liner material. It's got a rubberized stuff. I'm going to use that on the underside. And I'm kind of wondering, maybe I'll do the upper side as well, and that'll really seal it up and keep it protected. Now on the underside of this, here and here, there was a little tin box screwed on with a piece of insulation on it, because the exhaust coming off the turbo, which is like just the other side of this floorboard, comes here and then dumps behind the transmission. I'm not going to put those back on because, like I said, I'm putting side pipes on this thing, and my exhaust is not going to run under the floor anymore and come up behind the cab like it did before. I am going to dump it straight down off the turbo between the engine and frame rail, provided I have space to do that, and then it'll turn out by the front tires. So I'm not going to put that in there. I don't think I need it. It's not necessary in this application. But normally you would want to put that back in there, or maybe even elaborate on it and make it better than what it was from the factory. And the reason it's in there is so the exhaust heat doesn't catch your floor on fire, because, well, it's plywood. Yeah. So I'm going to pull these back out of here, flip them over, and apply the bed liner to it. And while that's drying, I'm going to prep the surfaces where this is going to sit. And then, when everything's back together, sitting exactly where I want it, which I don't have right now, I'm going to get some stainless steel, either carriage head bolts or self-tapper screws. I'm not really sure yet. Carriage head bolts, probably the best bet, but the only issue with those is you got to reach underneath, put the nuts on, which is going to be kind of a pain to reach in there and do that, but I think it's worth the effort to go that route. And I want to use stainless because, I live in the salt belt, and anytime you put just a mild, simple grade 5 bolt in there, or grade 3 bolt, cheap bolts, they rust up and they rust off, basically. So I think we're going to use stainless in case we ever want to take it back apart. It's going to come apart easily. Yeah, it's a little more money to do it that way, but I think it's the right thing to do in this situation, because basically this is my brand new pickup truck. This is my plan. My plan is to never buy another pickup truck again. Every time I buy a truck, I get 50,000 miles out of it, mainly because I don't buy new. I buy something with 150,000 on it, and I run them until they fall apart. I'll still have to have a plow truck, but this is going to be my daily driver pickup truck. Absolutely ridiculous. I agree with that 100%, but you know what? That's just me. I'm ridiculous. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to get this back apart and do all that. Yeah. Okay, so there it is. Roll on, spray on, mop on, bed liner. That's one coat. I think let this dry tonight, and I will hit it again tomorrow with another nice heavy coat. I really like this stuff. This is nice. I even like using it like on old trucks that are rusty, like on the bottoms of the doors and stuff. Makes it look a little cleaner, covers the rust up, and not only does it cover it up, it helps it from falling off when you're pumping gas and making you look like a moron because you slammed your door and half your door fell on the ground. Yeah, so it works nice for that too. Yeah, multi-purpose material right there. And it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive. I think a quart's like $25 maybe. So in here I've got this sticky ropey stuff. I don't know what it's called. This old timer that I shouldn't even call him an old timer. He's older than me. He might be 70 now. Worked with him in a tractor repair shop, and we did a lot of farm tractor restoration. And this guy, Jim, was probably the best tin knocker I've ever met. I mean, he could straighten a piece of metal like you wouldn't believe. He was great at it. Still is. And he called this stuff dum-dum. He's like, yep, put some dum-dum in there so she don't squeak. Well, ever since he's told me that, I've always done it. I mean, for 20 years now I've been using this stuff, and I love it. It's good stuff. Takes care of the squeaks, and, you know, like a dash panel. You're going down the road and your dash panel's you pull the screw out, stick a little dab of that behind it, throw the screw back in, it doesn't squeak anymore. It's sticky and gross when you take it back apart at some point in time. I'm not gonna lie to you there. It does, but it does serve a purpose. It's good stuff. Like I said, I don't know what it's called. Jim calls it Dum Dum, so I call it Dum Dum. Anyway, we're gonna keep moving on here. Okay, so I got these all mopped on. I got probably like 4 layers of this roll-on bed liner on this thing. I basically used about, I'd say half a gallon on these 2 pieces, just to basically use up the can. That's way overkill, but it's nicely protected anyway. So I went to the hardware, grabbed some stainless 1/4 20 screws, bolts, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to drill and tap the floor. I'm not going to have any nuts on the underside because it's just a little more work, but it's easier at the same time, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to start with this piece. Get that one in there. Tightened up, secured. And this one I'm probably going to have to just shave a blade's width off of it because of the rubberized stuff on the outside. Maybe I can even dial my saw in just to rip that rubberized edge off because they were tight fit to begin with. Now they're going to be extremely tight, like not fit tight. And then, yeah, if I take a heavy 1/8 off of this and then just touch up the edge, I think it'll be good to go. So yeah, I'll get this one going and get back. Okay, so I went to the hardware store and picked myself up a new 1/4 20 tap here, and that requires a number 10 drill bit. Oh yeah, got that. And I did my first test hole. I think that's going to work out nicely. So what I did is I first drilled the number 10 hole straight through the plywood, and then I took this drill bit, which is just one hair shade bigger than a 1/4 inch screw bolt, and I re-drilled the wood so that that'll just nicely drop through the wood and you're not trying to thread this. It'll take you forever, and that's just a pain in the butt. And then I drop this through the hole, tap it, put a little anti-seize on this, just so that you don't get any issues with corrosion between the aluminum and the stainless. Hopefully this will work out. So I'm going to go ahead and drill a bunch of these out and see what happens. Alright, I got 24 of these fancy stainless screw bolts installed, because the hardware had 24 of them, and I thought, yeah, I can make 24 work, no problem, that'll be fine. Well, I think I'm about 18 short, so I'm going to make a trip back to the hardware, get another dozen or so, just for good measure. And after going at this, I think I may even, nah, there's no sense in it. I was thinking about throwing a nut on the bottom of there. I don't think I have to. Those are drawn right in nice and tight, you know. There's no sense in it. Man, that guy did a nice job, I'll tell you. Look at that. He did a good job on that floor, I'll tell you. That looks good. Hey, there's a hammer in there. Don't forget that. So yeah, that's what the floor looks like. And then, what's next on the agenda? Let me turn this illuminator off here. Need that on. Killing the battery. So, yesterday while I was grumping about not having a tap that I needed, I went through and I pulled this suspension hanger off. And I pounded and swatted and beat on it. And I've done a lot of chippalating, you know. The old chipping hammer too. I got the slag off it. And then what I done was, I'll turn the light on to show you. Yeah. Come on here. No, that's not the one. Wow, you got quite an operation going here. Let's see. Alright, lights on. Then throwed it in the bead blast cabinet here. And that is cleaning up pretty nicely. I think that's going to be just fine. So I'll get that all ready for primer here pretty soon. So I think that's what I'm going to do now. Let's finish sandblasting that a little bit. Yeah. Plugging along, plugging along. It's a beautiful rainy day today. This morning here. And I've got this suspension hanger really as clean as I can get it with the tools that I have. And I've got the backside pretty good. There's no scale on it or anything. I'm just going to hit it quick with a flap wheel again and probably just let her buck. That's what I think I'm going to do now. And what I'll do is I'll just hammer down on it with a little thick rust preventative primer here. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And I think I'll just leave it at that point and get it mounted on the truck, get all the parts cleaned up at least to that point, mount it on the truck, get the axle in place, and then what I'll do is I'll actually have a feller come in and just dust the aluminum lightly with an aggregate of some type. Sandblast it is what I'm saying. And when he gets to these parts, I'll just have him hammer down. Just hammer them. And then they'll be what they'll be. This is not going to be a perfect truck. That was never my intention to have a perfect truck. But I want it to be clean looking. You know, I don't want it to look like a bunch of parts that I purchased from salvage yards and then just assembled it and sent it down the road. I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like I put a little effort into this thing. You know, and so I'm going to do that. So I'll flat wheel this thing up, hit it with some primer, show you what that looks like, and we'll move on to another quick project today. And maybe get into some interior. Maybe I'll start cutting out pieces of interior. I don't know. We'll do something though. Because, yeah. Hillbilly's bored right now. And it's raining and I can't get the pieces off of that frame that I want. Because I don't want to get wet. Anyway. And that's what that looks like, all purdied up with some heavy duty rust preventative primer. So I think that'll look fine. I think I'm gonna run it. I'm not gonna, what am I talking about? I'm not gonna hire somebody who can sandblast this thing. Who am I kidding? That's gonna be fine. We just hammer it a few times like that. She'll be good. And couple cosmetic things I'm going to start working on. I'm going to get rid of these because they were not a factory thing. I don't believe. Not on any pictures that I've seen. I think we just went with these originally. Yep. So we're going to lose those. Lose the horns. Maybe putter with that. I'll let you know how that goes. Okay, hillbillies. Yeah, I've got a couple coats on this thing. And looks pretty good. Good enough for what it's going to do. I mean, I think it'll be fine. So, just to give you a little sneak peek into what's in store for the next video. Nice plate aluminum here. And here's the old dashboard. Right there, and what is going to be the new dashboard panels. So, yeah, you'll get to see that. Just stay tuned for the next episode. Hey, and I just want to say, you know, thank you for you guys who are into the Kenworth stuff, because clearly that's going to be the thing, is it's Kenworth. Getting my channel moving along here. You know, it went viral, that last one. I mean, I had 80 views. 80 views on that last one. But that's a good deal. That's quite a few of you out there looking at old trucks there. So, if you enjoy that type of thing, just, you know the drill. Like and subscribe. And the other thing is, just go get one of these and, you know, do it your own self.